What makes love last? If you're single, married, or searching for your soulmate, this inspiring interview will remind you love is real, love is possible, and love is worth believing in. After 6.5 years of marriage, moving to a new country, and growing together, Elizabeth and Michael Ashley Jones, a deeply connected couple. He's a musician, she's a teacher. They share their love story on Amplify with Lynette. They reveal the lessons that marriage has taught them, how they keep their romance alive, and what love truly means beyond the fairy tale of the I do's. Let's meet the Joneses. 6.5 years of marriage. Liz and Mike, what has surprised you most about love? Mike.
How intentional you have to be. I think one can get very much lost in the romance and the what they call the honeymoon phase and what movies put out. But love is work, and I think love is a doing word. It's an action. Even the way the scriptures speak about love, this thing, love is patient. Patience is work. Love is kind. Kindness, it takes work. So I think that surprises me all the time that I understand that I have to be intentional and that it's work. But it's work that I love and enjoy.
For
For
me,
you, Elizabeth?
the reality of seeing the truth about being with someone has, I don't want to say shocked me, but it has really brought the reality of love. Because when you meet someone, you only see the good.
Mhm.
And the person also shows his or her best. But after getting married, there's no hiding.
Mm.
Everything comes to the front. Like, oh, you throw your clothes over there. I'm don't want to say a perfectionist, but I like things a certain way, and I like cleanliness. And so, getting used to someone that does things differently was a reality
Differently.
shock for me. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned what you envisioned it to be and what it actually is. So, for you, Michael, what did you think marriage was? And compare it to what it is actually now, building this with Elizabeth.
I think she hit the nail on the head. The realness of actually having someone see all parts of you. I think our situation was unique because we started dating in a place where dating wasn't allowed, in a country where dating wasn't allowed. And it was easy for us to be together. And if there was a squabble or an argument or something that you didn't like, uh, either of the two parties could get in a Uber and go back to their apartments or go back to their respective places. But now I think the understanding of that is there's no way to hide, but there's also no need to hide. Because this person now sees all parts of you, sees you at your best, sees you at your worst, and actively every day still choosing to be with you. That's that's the best blessing, I think, because I understand it is a baie moeilike mens. I can be very difficult. When I'm upset, I can be very petty. Um, but the fact that this person can see all of that, and the next day still say, "Baby, I love you. Baby, I'm proud of you." And they don't show that on movies. They just show the dates and they show the gifts and they show all these, and all of that is still important. But the understanding that marriage is not just that, and that this person chooses me every day, despite my craziness and my pettiness and being difficult sometimes, that was a game changer for me, and it's still a game changer for me now.
How do you think, Elizabeth, has the fact that you met, but you were very into your music, Mike, and Elizabeth was very structured, very formalized. How do you think your passions, because you've got different passions, yes, I know you're very spiritual and you love God, but how do you think has that influenced your relationship and your marriage, Elizabeth?
Michael Ashley, when I met him, I'll give you a quick recap of what happens one day in church. He put his guitar down, and I came along because I wanted to say hello to him. And then I knocked his guitar, and he said to me, "Oh, you've knocked my baby." He didn't say hello, and
I don't even remember that.
we were not dating yet. We were just friends. But that to me was like, oh my goodness, can somebody really love music or just his instrument so much? Like, you're not even seeing me. I'm coming out here to say hello to you. So yeah, I knew that he loves music very much. He loves worship. And so I knew going into this that it was going to either be his music first, or I'm going to have to work for his attention. But once we got into a relationship, he kind of understood that he needed to make time for me above his music. I don't ever recall saying that to him, but I knew the minute that I entered his life, his music took second place. And that's how it's been ever since.
How has it shaped your marriage, Mike?
I've always been the type of person that I feel like I express myself best through speaking and music. Um, I consider myself to be a wordsmith. And when I write letters or I write notes, thoughtful notes for people, or when I write songs and poems, I feel like because it's what I love doing, it's my passion. I put a lot of thought into how I phrase things. And so music and poetry and writing letters has always been a very important part of my life. I've obviously been in relationships before Elizabeth. And, because I'm a songwriter, I've always written girlfriends' songs. But I think if I look back now at the songs that I've written for Elizabeth and because of Elizabeth, it's my best work now. And it's not just the love songs that I've written for her. It's the Christian songs the gospel songs that I've written, the worship songs that I've written, because I got married to someone that understands how important her relationship with God is, but also our relationship with God. Now I feel like my music, there's purpose behind my music. I've always written to make people happy, but I think after I've written a song now, she's the first person that hears the song. She'll say, "Oh, I love this part, but maybe look at the wording here." I have to get the wife mode out of her sometimes because she's like, "Oh, this is a beautiful song," and I have to say, "Listen, take the wife hat off quickly." And as a teacher and as a language teacher, also listen to it objectively. Listen to the phrasing. Listen to what I'm saying. Does the message make sense? So sometimes she can be so caught up in the wife mode because whatever I'm gonna write or whatever I'm gonna sing, she's gonna think it's beautiful. And that has also worship is a big part of our marriage. So being able to actually pick up an instrument and sing, and we can sing together, yeah, it's couple goals, as they say.
I think
Hashtag couple goals, yeah. Well, yes, Elizabeth?
I think sometimes he thinks that I favor him. I don't want to tell him that I don't like something, or I don't agree with the message of the song, or the song doesn't make sense. But I must say that he is brilliant. Like, he is so good at writing songs and just bringing across a message. He does it not only with like music for me, but he also does it with his students. And I'm just wowed at the gift that he has. And I am sometimes critical, but he takes it well.
The role of spirituality. What role does it play in your relationship, in your marriage, in your love story? Mike?
Probably the most important, to be honest with you. It's everything we do stems from that place. Elizabeth met me as a worshiper, and she understood how important my relationship with God is. When I met her, I immediately, and she didn't even have to say anything to me, just the way she carried herself. It was clear that she had a relationship with God. And when I think we started dating, she made it very clear this is, we're not going to be fooling around. It's marriage of niks. Ons hier gaan nie rondgespeel word nie, rondgevreiery nie. If we are doing this, we are doing this with the purpose of getting married. I don't have time for games, and that threw me. But again,
Reality shock.
yeah, but again, it was based on how important her relationship with God was. And I think because both of us understand that as individuals, bringing that into marriage, now as husband and wife and as parents, it's everything. It's understanding how we speak to one another. It's understanding how we speak to our children, and not just when we are happy, also when they upset us. Praying together as a family. Our son is not with us; he's in South Africa. So when we pray together in the morning, praying for him in South Africa as well. So I don't even want to call it spirituality. I want to say our relationship with Christ is probably the most important part and the glue kind of that holds everything together.
Did you decide what kind of marriage you wanted, Elizabeth?
Yes, I knew. I knew I wanted a Christian guy, not a Christian guy, but a guy that loved God, a man that loves God, a man that puts God first. I knew that. I had a list of what I wanted in
Yes,
a
I
marriage.
have a list too.
And on my list, that was one of the most important things. I wanted somebody that knew God. I wanted a worship leader. So those were kind of the top things that I wanted. And I thought for a while that I was I was asking too much from God. But can we really ask God for too much? So I was like putting it out there. God, this is what I want. And here I am,
Yep,
6.5 years later.
but tell Nate what else was on the list? What else? You know what? She put on the list the international. She wanted an international man.
International, yeah.
But look how funny this works out. She said, so I met all the other criteria on the list.
Everything.
What I didn't meet, I was not international. But look how funny this is. She has to go to Saudi Arabia and meet a South African in Saudi Arabia. So technically speaking, I met the criteria
You're
of I
international.
was international. I wasn't in South Africa.
Mm.
We met, firstly, we met in Saudi Arabia in an underground church. And for people that don't understand the concept of an underground church, Saudi Arabia is a Muslim country, and the only religion that is allowed to be practiced publicly is Islam. And so we were at an underground church, massive church that the king somehow found out about, and basically gave the church a document that allowed us to run, but we weren't allowed to convert people from Islam. And if he went to a different country to speak about the country, he would take this pastor with him to say, tell them about your church that you have. Like, we are not persecuting people. So we met in this place where at that time, you males and females were not allowed to be together in public if you were not married, unmarried men
Married.
and women, or your fam. And when I say family, I'm talking about your mom, your aunts, your grandmothers, not even your cousins, because in Islam, um, cousins are allowed to marry, right? So you weren't even allowed to be with your cousin outside that of a opposite sex. So meeting this beautiful woman in Saudi Arabia, wanting to pursue marriage, wanting to pursue a godly relationship, dating obviously becomes very interesting because we're not allowed to be together. So we were really living on the edge. taking Ubers together. um, I told Liz, I was very straight with her. I said, this in no way. I need to see you. I want to spend time with you. I want to go to a restaurant. So even at that time, Saudi had built all its buildings into single section and family section. So females were allowed to be in the family section. Males were not, single males, or if you're without your partner, your wife, you were not allowed to be in the family section. We were going into restaurants. I said, ons gaan net voorgee ons is getroud, hou my hand vas. Maak seker jy het 'n ring op jou vinger, ek het 'n ring op my vinger. And we pretended to be married so that we are able to access restaurants. But it was scary because if the religious police came in there and they asked you for your work permit, your marital status will be on the work permit. And if it comes out that you are single, I mean, there's a variety of things that could have happened to us that didn't, thank God. But dating was interesting. Let me put it that way.
And we were
Clearly.
we were lucky or blessed enough that when we started dating, we both knew that we wanted to pursue marriage, number one. And number two, we knew that we wanted to do something different. That both of us were done with Saudi Arabia. We knew that was the end of the road. Even though I loved my school, I loved where I was at, I knew that was the end of the road for me for Saudi Arabia. And he knew that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where China came into play.
Mike, what habits or surprises, rituals have you employed to keep the romance alive in your relationship, to make sure that there's that constant spark?
I think of all the things, thinking about preparation for speaking to you today, that's probably the most challenging aspect of, I think, for us, but I'm sure for other couples as well. Being intentional about keeping romance alive. In Beijing, it's even more challenging because we are here for work. Our work is hectic. And I think we love date nights, firstly. We love dressing up. We love eating out. We love good food. We love trying out new places. So I think making time for date night has probably been the constant in our marriage and in our relationship. And when 3 or 4 weeks has passed and there hasn't been a date night, you sense that or you sense that comfortability. So I think making sure that we have date night, getting a babysitter so that our daughter is taken care of, but so that we can go out and just enjoy each other's company and laughing. Oh, Elizabeth like laugh. She loves laughing. And I think, and because we make each other laugh so frequently, life is serious, our job is serious, parenting is serious, but I think making time for us to laugh and just joke, that's how we keep the spark alive. Ons lag baie.
But
Because
I, think,
I often hear people talk about the love language, and how does that come into play within your relationship and within your marriage?
We definitely know each other's love languages, especially over the 6.5 years we've learned. For Elizabeth, it's acts of service. And I understand now why it's important for her. And being a mother is a lot, as baie werk.
Yes.
And I think for her happiness that she experiences just seeing me wash the dishes, or her happiness that she experienced just me cooking, and understanding that makes her happy. That is when she feels loved, that I'm taking things off her plate and making mothering and being a wife easier for her. What makes her feel happiest and most loved is when I'm doing these things without being asked to do. And I realize that even more now. The longer we are together, the more I realize that when I do these things unprompted or not being asked to do so, that is what makes us feel loved and feel happy. And my man has got me. He loves me. And I see it because of these things. It's not just the big gestures. I know that she loves receiving flowers. I know that she loves receiving gifts. But I realized that at the times that she feels most appreciated is the small things that I do.
I'm a very sentimental person. I have things that friends gave me from my childhood that I kept because it's sentimental to me and it means something to me and it's valuable to me. So I've kept it. And so Michael Ashley, he writes notes and he will leave it on my desk at work and he will say, "Oh, I have the most beautiful wife," and he'll buy me a coffee and he'll leave it on my table when I'm not there. Those things make me love him more, makes me feel like he still gives me those butterflies. Like, oh, he still sees me. I promise you, there's not a day that goes by that Michael Ashley does not say you look beautiful. And then sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, I don't look that beautiful today. I don't feel that beautiful, but he still sees me as beautiful. And he says it and he means what he says. I can see it in his eyes when he says it. He has this glow, the spark. It's like I'm like I can see it in his eyes and he's true to what he says.
That's really
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen fall out of the air. It's something that you constantly have to feed, work on, because there's an
Yeah.
exchange of energy, and it's not going to flourish if it's just one partner doing all the loving, the caring, the intention, and it's not reciprocated.
That's very
True, true. And I think that's something that we had to learn very quickly in our marriage. Because once we got married, it was a different ball game. We got married and I fell pregnant straight after we got married. That changed everything for us. We moved to China and things changed for us. We were together in an apartment, things changed for us. And so I had to learn very quickly that I had to wash the washing. I had to clean, make sure that our apartment was clean. And I was pregnant and I was sick and I was tired and I was miserable. And so we had to learn very quickly that if I had to carry all of this by myself, we would be in a miserable marriage because I would be miserable all the time and that would rub off on him. So it had to be like a sit down and we had a wake up call. Like we need to work very hard at helping each other so that we can be mentally okay to love each other better.
My ma het my op 'n ander gedra, especially when I started working. My mother treated me as a working man. You are coming home, you are paying the rent, you are paying electricity, you are paying water, you are buying the food. So I don't want you to do anything. And I think that, I know she did it out of love, but in a way, it didn't prepare me for marriage. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to do the washing. I didn't know how to do anything. So preparing for marriage, understanding now these things are important. It's basic life skills, whether I'm married or not married, and learning to do these things in preparation for marriage and now in marriage. Yeah, so I think being spoiled as a young man in a single mother home, with your mom doing everything for you. Ek het eens my kooi opgemaak. That's how bad it was. But now, yeah, now I love doing those things. I hate housework, but I love doing housework because I know the impact it has on my wife.
But I'm sure also you had to navigate the changes of moving from a mother taking care of you to a household. You're now married. That's your primary responsibility. You have a child that's on the way. You have to make this work. You're in a foreign country. Talk to me just a little bit about what impact that had on your marriage, all those changes so suddenly, Elizabeth.
We also had a teenage son. So Michael came into my life. I was a single mom. I had a 13-year-old at the time. 12-year-old, yeah. And so he received all of my attention. And all of a sudden, we had Michael in our lives. That was very hard for him, number one, to understand. And number two, even though he had my father in his life, he didn't really have the knowledge of a fatherly figure. And so now Michael
Mm.
comes in, and he thinks Michael wants to rule, as a teenager. And so that in itself was a massive strain on our relationship
Sure.
and our marriage. And we had to
Mm.
kind of navigate through that, but still love this boy to the best of our ability so that he can reach his full potential. Because at that stage, he was also a very, not rebellious, I wouldn't say, but he was going to go that way if we didn't like do this right. So we had only one chance to do this right with him. But we also had that only one chance to get it right for ourselves and our marriage. So I think at that point, the most important thing, or the thing I am most grateful for, was that we surrounded ourselves with people that were more knowledgeable than what we were,
Mm.
that we could run to and say, we have a problem, can you help us? And it was not like we had one person. We had a council of people that did not have a relationship with each other, that could not talk to each other, but could help us through navigate through
Mm.
this period in our marriage and our life.
A lot of
I,
newness.
I, yeah, talk to us about that because often, given the times that we live in, people have other lives, had other
Mm.
relationships, often had other marriages. How did you navigate? Because we don't want to call it baggage, we call it past. The stuff
Mm.
that
Mm.
you come with because you've always done it in a certain way in a marriage, you think you can just transfer that and it's going to work out the
Mm.
same way. That
Yeah.
it asks you to do things differently.
That was getting married, knowing that. I think we did a good job beforehand to speak about previous relationships, the failures that came with that, in preparation for marriage, part of our counseling, being challenged to even speak about our family histories and understanding where we come from, and how we grew up. What was normal in your house? Um,
Mm,
so you understanding that Elizabeth grew up in a home with both the parents present. Parents where she never ever saw them argue. They never argued in front of the kids. If they argued, they go into the room. The kids knew. "Julle het geweet, julle mag in die
Mm.
kamer gaan nie, né?" But for me, I grew up in a home where I only had my mom. For years, I was estranged from my father. I didn't have a relationship. My parents got divorced when I was 4. And that lack, it's still present in our marriage now, where I intentionally have to work on speaking to other married men, other married fathers, uh, and understanding there's certain needs that I have as a man, that
mm,
because I didn't have a father figure present in my home, there were things that I wasn't exposed to. I didn't know how to deal with finances. I didn't know how to take care of a family. All of a sudden, I go from being living relatively poor. Now I'm earning 18, 19,000 a month, and I just want to buy myself things. And so all those things that a father's supposed to help a young man through in life, I didn't have that. And even now in marriage, there are moments where I feel like I'm not fit for this. I'm not good enough to do this. I don't deserve Elizabeth. She's a good woman. She's a good wife. She's a good mother. And when ek weet nie eens wat dit is om 'n pa te wees nie. Um, I have, we have a teenage son. We have a 5-year-old turning 6 in May, and I still have those moments. But because I have such good counsel around me, I can call my friend and say, "My broer, vandag is een van daai dae wat ek voel ek is nie geskik om 'n pa te wees nie." And he can talk me through those things. And she knows that that is probably the biggest, I would say, sometimes void in my life, that there are moments, no matter how good it is with us, I feel like I'm not capable for this. I'm not capable to be your husband. I'm not capable to be a father. And because she understands where that comes from,
mm,
she's
mm,
able to also talk me through it. Because she understands, she reminds me, "Baby, you did this. Do you remember this? Do you remember how you carried us through this?" And I think because I now have that, that baggage comes from a place, right? It comes from a void that I had.
Totally.
We got married, the void stayed there. Marriage doesn't fix the void. In fact,
Mm.
what it does, it
Yeah.
amplifies it, it
Eyes
magnifies
it.
that void.
Mm.
Because I never had to think about not having a father growing up. I could mask it with going out with friends. Now there's no mask because there's no hiding and there's no place to hide.
Mm.
Elizabeth, what have you learned about yourself through marriage and particularly with being with Mike? How has that helped you to grow as a woman and as a person?
It has shown me that, you know what, heard a lot of people say that I carry grace. They also tell me I'm very
100%.
patient. But in marriage, I see that now. I see that why God gave me those gifts of patience and
That
kindness and
nurture.
love. Yes, because in marriage, I needed that. I needed to be more kind. I needed to be more graceful
Mhm.
and forgive quickly. Um, I could do that very easily with friends and family members. If somebody did something, I can forgive and forget very quickly. Um, Even if you hurt me, I can forgive and I can move on. And so when I got married to Michael, that was something that was really tested. How well can you forgive and forget and move on? And many times that is something that we had to kind of make each other aware of, because I forget very quickly. And then sometimes he will come to me and say, when we have an argument, he'll say, yes, just like last year you said. And I'm like, last I really said that last year? Because I've really forgotten and I've moved on.
Yeah.
um and
Yeah.
so that's something that we also had to work on. Like, if we let go, we let go and
Mm.
we move on. We are building, we are not looking back. Those are like the foundation. It's there, and we trust that we build a good foundation, and we have to keep going.
Every year, I see, our growth as a couple, and it's not just something that we talk about. I can physically see, last year we still did
Mm.
this, baby. Look at this year. Now we are saying we are talking differently to one another. So that for me, our love is a clear testament of not just enjoying the growth, but the understanding that we are always moving. We're not looking back. We are moving forward.
Liz, if there's one lesson that you could share with someone looking for a deeper connection, what would that be other than that you had a list? Maybe a list doesn't work for everybody else, but it sounds to me that you have to be clear about what you want, what your intention is, so that you can draw that to you.
The first thing that I would say is get to know yourself. If you know yourself and you are confident in who you are, then you will know what you want out of life. I think many of our young women, we settle for w- the good looks, or the whatever comes with the good looks. And we are not very clear about who we are and what we want out of life. And I think if I look back to my previous relationship, I thought that I could change the person, but I could not change that person because I did not know who I was at that moment. I just settled. And if I look back now, I would have spent that time getting to know who I was better so that I could go after the things that I wanted most. But I just felt like time is moving on and everybody is settling down and I'm just stagnant. But there's no rush in life. We rush things and we get ourselves into miserable situations. And I feel like if you get to know yourself first and know who you are and know what you want, you set yourself up for much better things in life.
How do you ensure that you remain strong as a couple? And especially because you've got your son that's in South Africa, you are creating a life for the three of you in Beijing. You're both teachers at the same school. I think there's probably a lot of people that would say, "Oh my word, we at home together." at
Yeah.
school together. Isn't it a bit too much? Bietjie dik, né? So how do you navigate that, Mike?
Mm.
Do you know how many colleagues ask us, don't you two get tired of one another? Because it's very normal for us to have lunch together. It's very normal for us to have a coffee break together. And many people, and when they see us, also the way we speak to one another, I refer to as my love, she refers to me as my love. And it's not something that we even think about. It's just second nature now already.
Mm,
People see us laughing, people see us making jokes, joking around. And I think that is so strange for all our colleagues at all the different companies we've worked with in Saudi, in Congo, in China, in South Africa. People ask us, don't you get tired of one another? Because you must come to school together, you spend time at school together, you have some of the same friends at school. But I think because I'm excited to be around her, even when I'm feeling miserable, I still feel excited to be with her. I still feel excited. If I have a funny thought, if I saw something funny, she is the first person I want to share the joke with. And it can be
yes.
the strangest thing. Yeah, baby, weet jy, ons het nou 'n meeting gehad. Weet jy wat het die persoon nou in die meeting gesê? And she's so excited to hear, if I have a funny story. So I think that excitement, I never ever want that excitement to die out.
Mm.
Because it's that excitement that makes, we don't even, it doesn't bother us that we see each other at school. It doesn't bother us that we have to go
Yeah.
to school together, that we come home together. It's the furthest thing from our minds. We don't even think about it. Other people point it out and say, "Yeah, you guys spend a lot of time together." It doesn't bother us. So I think that excitement, I never ever want that excitement to die out because that is what keeps
Mm,
us
Mm.
fresh.
Mm.
mm,
But I will say there's a lot of work that has to go in. Um, like Michael, he listens to a lot of podcasts on
Mhm.
marriage and how to navigate certain things. So, and then he will share that with me. Whereas I am a reader, so I will read a lot of books again on marriage or how to navigate certain things in marriage. And
Parenting.
and especially parenting, yes, I read a lot on that. I also listen to a lot of videos of people sharing their stories of parenting. And so I think there's a lot of work that goes into it, but we never get tired of the work because we want to be better for each other.
Mhm.
I think that
mm,
that must be a very important goal that you have as a couple. You want to be better for the next person. I want to be better for
mm.
him. I want to be at my best for him, and he needs to want the same thing for himself so that we can be good for our children. And
Yes.
one
But
one
you also want to
one big
see, sorry, Elizabeth.
one thing that a pastor friend of us told us, and we reflect on that often. We go back and forth on that. He said, if the two of you are not good, like if there's
Mm.
something between the two of you, the children will not be good. So whenever we speak to him, he will ask, how are you two doing?
Mm.
When last were you on
Mm,
a date?
Mm.
When last did you guys speak to each other? So that's something that I think one of our roots or one of our anchors is that we need to be good with each other.
mm. And you said earlier on how important it is for you to go on your date nights so that
Mm.
it's just Mike seeing Liz and Liz seeing
Yes.
Mike, that it's the
Yes.
two anchors, that you don't just identify as mother or teacher
Mm.
at school or wife, but that you as a woman come to a man, that is so crucial. But also, if you look back on your relationship, I can hear that you reflect about where we were, where we're going, what do we still want to do together. Talk us through
Mm.
that process, Mike. And is it intentional? Do you kind of sit down? Do you talk to each other? Do you evaluate where you've been, what you've done, where you could have as a couple done better? How does that influence the decisions you make as a married couple?
So I think that is why date night is so important for us. It's not just the effort of dressing up. I love that part also. I want to look good for her. I want to smell good for her, you know. I like, as I'm getting done, hearing the compliment, oh baby, that looks good on you. And I do the same for her. So it's not just that part of date night that I love so much. I love that in our date night we have the reflective moments. We speak about our 5-year plan, or how we've grown. What are our goals that we still want to achieve together? One of the best parts of our relationship is the fact that even though we have individual dreams, we have kind of found a way that some of our dreams are actually aligned. So
Mm.
as I'm working on Michael Ashley's dream, somehow it is connected to Elizabeth's dream. We are very passionate with working with kids, and we know that eventually our goal is to return to South Africa because we love our country. And all the knowledge and the experience that we've picked up outside of our country, we wouldn't have learned those things in South Africa. And I need to be very clear about that, especially with regards to education. So knowing that we have this dream together to come back to South Africa and start our own thing and help kids that are struggling with reading, help kids that are struggling with writing, and knowing that this dream, I didn't even know I had this dream. I just knew that I was passionate working with kids. But once she shared a dream with me, and I was like, but this is what I also want to do. I also want to do this thing. And because she shared that passion with me, on our date nights, we get to speak about this thing that we want to build together. What training do we still need, or how much money do we need to put away? She wants to do a master's. I also want to do my master's. And having these conversations, are you gonna do it first, my love? Or are we gonna do it together? So date night for us is not just looking into each other's eyes, and all those things still happen, but there's intent with the conversation that we are having. Baby, where are we
Mm.
now? How have we grown? What is the plan for the future? What are we doing to build towards that? She does a very good job of speaking about the finances. That's a sore spot for me because I don't always deal well with finances, but she's like, hoeveel geld gaan ons wegsit? What are we doing? How are we going to pay for this? So she's very good at that organization, and it helps me because I'm not very organized.
Yes, a lot of people say, oh, they're not praying enough. They've been single for so long. They're in their 40s, they're divorced, or there is just not, they don't meet anybody, even in the church, even if they go to church, there's nothing happening there. If someone hasn't found their person yet, Elizabeth, what words of encouragement and hope and wisdom could you offer them? You said earlier, get to know yourself. But I'm keen to hear, now that you're older, what do you say to someone who hasn't found their person yet?
I would say be patient with yourself, but put yourself out there because you have nothing to lose. If you are 40 years old, my dear, you have nothing to lose by putting yourself out there. Many times we grew up very conservative, so we were taught that you wait for the guy to make the move, you know. And as a young woman, I always thought that's how it's supposed to be. Like, okay, if he's not approaching me, maybe I should just wait, or he's not interested. I think there's nothing wrong with trying to connect with someone, or building the friendship, or pursuing someone but still remaining true to who you are. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting yourself out there. And if it fails, it fails. What do you have to? You have nothing to lose. You know, you've learned from that and you move on.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I would say be patient with yourself, but be open-minded and put yourself out there. And I always tell my friends, they always say they are praying, and I always say the Bible says, pray without ceasing, but watch and pray. So don't pray just like with eyes closed. Pray and watch. Look around you. You
Mm.
know, when you're in church, when you're out there, look around and pray and watch while you are praying. And even if you put yourself out there, right, you're not just going to settle for the first person that says, okay, let's go on a date. I think we as mature women, we have a very good sense of when you meet somebody, if the connection
Mm.
isn't there, if the energy isn't right, if you feel something is off, it most probably is. and trust that. We have that sense within us. Trust it, move on.
Baby, you're very funny. You're very funny. She gets so passionate when she speaks about, being Elizabeth was single for 10 years before we got into a relationship. And I think I'm so proud of her because she had the maturity in waiting that I didn't have. My ma het vir my gesê, my kind, vry, and you will find. So my mother encouraged me going on dates and, I didn't have a sense of waiting, where Elizabeth was diligent in 10 years of waiting. Sure, there were tries that came and there were dates, but because she knew what she wanted, being single for 10 years wasn't a thing for her. And I thank God for that patience because now I want to use that in our marriage, that patience of praying for something, but being okay to wait for it and being okay. If it doesn't work out now, maybe the next thing.
What advice would you give someone waiting?
It's such a tough question. Looks is fleeting. I'm fortunate to have a beautiful wife. And I'm not saying that you must settle for someone that you are not attracted to. I'm saying while you are getting to know someone, the substance is so important. That is why the coffee dates. Oh, I'm a fan of coffee dates. And even now we are married, I still want us to have coffee dates. Those coffee dates are game changers. It's low pressure. It's just you're meeting up with a friend for coffee. But if they are not able to speak about what they want to build towards or what excites them about life, how they've grown as people, all those questions that sometimes people try to avoid because it's too deep for a first date. I want to have those conversations. And I would encourage young men that are out there. I'm not saying that you must, start dating someone that you are not attracted to, but understand that there's something beyond that. That you have to be able to search for something beyond that. Does the person have substance? Do they have depth? Are they passionate about certain things?
Do they have goals?
Yes. Are they working towards something?
And I think that's something that we miss a lot. Like when we go for what the person look like or what people tell us about someone, and then we miss where I'm going and where this person is going. Can we build a future? Is there something? Does this person have goals? Does she have a goal and a vision? Do you have a goal and a vision? Where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years or 11 years from now? And I think we avoid those type of conversations when we should actually be having those type of conversations.